Oh, hi. Thanks, Brandon. Namaste, everybody. Blessings to you. I want to start today's service with a little myth busting. Some of us have fallen under some kind of spell that today, which happens to be Mother's Day, is about brunch. Anybody believing that? Well, it's a lie, a lie, a lie. Mother's Day was not created by Hallmark. Mother's Day was created by an activist, a revolutionary love warrior named Julia Ward Howe. So look it up, read about it. She was tired of things. She was tired of war. She was tired of tribalism. She was tired about our value being measured about who we know and what we have. She was tired. She was ready to serve differently. And she used her pain, her grief, and in doing so, it merged with hope, and a hope emerged from it and then became her mission. And then after living through the Civil War, she called out for peace. She called for revolution, and she called the day of the revolution Mother's Day. So it's a very different take on what today is for some folks. So I believe that we're here today too, in that spirit, and I certainly am. And I know many of you, and those of you listening, bless you in your journey of that, and let our spirit become alive today as the people that's gone before us have, that it's our turn now for this kind of merging, to use whatever we're grieved about, whatever we're tired of, whatever we've had just enough of, to say that I'm going to merge that in my spirit to inspire me and to be co-inspirators with other people, to say, I've got to do something about these things. So then we are the leaders we are waiting for. So then we take back this day and every day as a way to do that. Then we say yes to leaving our mark on the world, leaving your mark on the world. What is your mark on the world going to be? More complaining, more drama, or something radically different, radically empowered, radically empowering, radically wholehearted. And I believe that each of us was going to have this holy discontent and this holy unrest in us until we claim this authentic, vulnerable, powerful part of ourselves and say, yes, I have a mark to leave on the world. I'm leaving that mark on the world, and I'm going to dial up my luminosity on leaving that mark. And then as that mark becomes more radical, more relentless, more wildly crazy, imaginative, collaborative, innovative, faithful, loving, surrendering, then infinite possibilities exist. So then to let our love insist that there's no such thing as others. There's no such thing as the other or other people. If you believe in quantum theory, quantum physics and mechanics, we know that what I do to me, I do to the whole. What I do to one, I do to the whole. So it's a day to say, to wake up then, that I cannot rest. I cannot have rest until the whole can find a greater rest. And to look at then what we're doing that sucks off our energy, that drains our vitality, to say, okay, then I'm exhausted. I'm just so exhausted. I'm just so tired. And for years, I listened to people say this, like, Martha, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And I remember just a dawning moment, like a defining moment of, we're overwhelmed because we're underwhelmed. We're doing things that does not make our tails wag. We're doing things that we don't want to be doing, that's not moving us in the direction of our goals for our life. So it's then high time to say, okay, whatever that is, I've got to do less of that. whatever is draining off my vitality in the spirit, I've got to do less of that. And then to see, what can I be wholehearted about? A more wholehearted living. And one of my writers of this is inspired today by a poet named David White, which you can look up to, Whyte. And he says, the antidote to exhaustion is not rest. The antidote to exhaustion is wholeheartedness. This is good news, folks. This is excellent good news. Because then if we want to have more life, have more vitality, have more energy, then to look to see, then what can I be more wholehearted about? What can you be more wholehearted about? So only you know that. It wouldn't even make sense to some of us. So what is it then? If the antidote to exhaustion is wholeheartedness, you're so exhausted because you're not being wholehearted at what you're doing. So it's a new road today, then an awakening to say, then what do I actually care about? What do I care about? What do I care about in my profession? What do I care about in my vocation? What do I care about in my family life? What do I care about in my heart and in my mind? And this is a question, a conversation that we all must have with ourselves, and to have with ourselves at every stage of our life, not just once in our life, but in every stage of our life. A conversation that we often won't pause to have, because instead we've got this kind of conversation going on about, well, I'll get to it. I'll get to that. I'm going to get to that. I'll get to that when the kids are grown. I'll get to that when I have enough money in the bank. I'll get to that when I retire. I'll get to that when I'm dead. I'll get to that when it gets easier. Instead of just now, today, what can I be wholehearted about now? Right now. So think about this for you. And it could be modeling self-compassion. It could be a practice of gratitude. And back to the power of practicing gratitude, it could be celebrating a milestone, celebrating something you've accomplished. It could be learning something, taking on something new. We're built to learn. We're built to use our minds and to take on challenges that grow us. And to know, one of my coaches once said, when I said, oh my God, it's so challenging. This is so challenging. Oh my God, I'm struggling. And she's like, golly, quit saying that. Stop saying that. I'm struggling. It's like, you're built for struggle. We're built to be challenged. She said, if you were on a soccer field and nobody was there to defend, there was no defense team, it's just you and a ball, and you're going to kick it down the field and kick it into the net, and there's nobody there to work around and nobody there to oppose you, how many times would you want to run up and down that soccer field and just kick the ball in there? Like, well, not many, probably one or two. It's like, well, that's the point. So we're built to strategize around that opposition. We're built to think through, to find a way to create, to innovate around this. So to get wholehearted about it instead of so dreadful about it, so dreading it. It could be that we make a contribution to something that we love, something that we want to see ongoing, to adopt a project or to adopt a profession. Last year, I adopted first responders and those first line workers and hospitals, and found ways to get food and gifts into those hospitals just to say thanks to them through that year. This year, I've adopted teachers, so I'm finding a way to fund their projects and things. And then I donate to ministries and to churches and to Unity, to this ministry and to Unity Worldwide headquarters. of that, because I want to see this ongoing. I want to see this around for the next 100 years. These empowered teachings that have changed my lives and many of lives, and most of the people I know that's been affected by these teachings and the way these ministries are serving us in some way. So what can you do? What can you do today that would give vitality, more wholeheartedness for you? Begin to think about it and see, even if you think about it, if you get your tail wagging a little bit, just one idea you have, one something you can do, and give yourself a gold star. Remember when you were in first year kindergarten, anybody, did you get gold stars? Little stars on your paper, little stars maybe on a report card, and what that felt like to get a gold star. So give yourself a gold star today, that I have awakened to wholeheartedness. I'm onto it now, and I'm going to be devoting some energy to living more wholeheartedly. And then I'm going to keep giving me some gold stars. I'm going to inspire me and encourage me along the way, and you. And then I'm going to give gold stars to other people too. It could be get wholehearted about straight talk, actually having a conversation with somebody, a connection point with somebody. So instead of this superficial kind of dancing around anything, versus just sitting and asking somebody what's on their heart and listening to that, what's on their mind and listening to that. It could be that I don't assume that people are having the experience that I'm having about anything, so that instead of imagining that and projecting that onto them, I get to ask them, what is your experience of this, or what would support you during this time? And then that means then to get wholehearted and to get more wholehearted in our living, to get revolutionary about this crazy kind of living and love that is proof according to the scripture. According to scripture, in almost every faith tradition, expressions of joy, expressions of delight are reciprocal to the relationship we have with the divine. So as I am deepening my relationship with the divine, whatever you call that, spirit, Holy Spirit, God, whatever your word for it is, as I cultivate that relationship and develop that relationship and bring that alive in me, then my expressions then are going to be more loving, kinder, more wholehearted, more joy-filled, a little spark in the eye that can return when I presence myself, get clear about what matters to me and what mark I want to leave on the world, and to get more and more practice, more and more mindful, and more conscious with every thought I have and every thought I act on. Not every thought I have, but every thought I act on is leaving a mark. Every emotion is informing me that I'm either strengthening myself or I'm weakening myself. So then I want to make choices leaning toward what strengthens me, what gives me vitality. And I want to get more and more aware and more awake of what weakens me and drains off my vitality and drains off my spirit, that leaves me more exhausted, more tired of something. And then I'm naturally going to have more possibility, more infinity in what I'm able to do. And you've all had this experience, because when time collapses, even though you've been hard at work at something, a project that mattered to you, it's a good tired. It's not the tired where you think you won't recover or you even doubt what you're doing. So this is going to mean then we drop some things too. So as we start up new things that empower us and strengthen us and lift us up, then we're going to have to stop some things that drain us off and that continue to weaken us, and to get mindful about which is this now. Even as I think about this task, do I feel more lifted up by it, or do I feel kind of drained off by it? And this could include things like perfectionism. Any perfectionists out there can relate? Like everything's got to be just so, just so versus, it doesn't. I can put my whole heart in it. You can watch children do it. They just color and create something, and then they let it be. They were in it for the love of coloring, not to make something perfect. It could be that we snap out of this working with scarcity, and that there's this lack of, and there's not enough, and not enough money, and not enough time, and not enough me, and not enough. And it's like, okay, enough of that. And now I'm going to live a life leaving my mark of the world of enoughness, not enoughness. So I want to leave a mark on the world that said, here's somebody that worked with what they had. Here's somebody that took what they had and made enough from it, that made enoughness come alive and abandon and drop some of that not enoughness mentality. It could be to stop numbing ourselves out, and whatever that is for you. You can take a look at what it is because you're ashamed to tell it. So if you have a shame in saying you're doing this or you're doing that, you'll know that that is weakening you, the fact that you have shame around it. So if it's TV, for example, and you love TV and you come out of it feeling alive and you're getting ideas from it, it's a time that you can restore yourself and rest and come out of it better than you went in, then it's not that. But if you are coming out of it feeling drained and more tired and more apathetic and more cut off and more resentful and whatever else, then you'll know that's not an integrity for me. It could be absolutely stopping criticism. Like criticism is coming through the mind like a machine, and I'm not going to offer this out, that I'm absolutely going to fast from criticizing something, to go on a fast of this, to see what happens. And that's a cousin of complaining. And it could be leaving our mark based on how we've been hurt and who hurt us. And then leaving our mark on the world from those hurts, versus the hurts are there. There's no one that's not been hurt, some extremely, some profoundly, traumatically been hurt. Yes, it's there. And I'm not going to leave my mark on the world from those traumas. I'm not going to leave my mark on the world from those hurts. I'm going to leave my mark on the world from possibility, from something that empowers me, that inspires me, something that I would want to look on my gravestone and say, here lies Martha. Instead of issues, she had ideas. Here lies Martha. Instead of dramas, she had dreams. Here lies Martha. Instead of complaining, she made contributions. So whatever's going to be on your headstone, we're writing it today. So what would you write today to be on your headstone? And to accept at some level the time we're in right now is such an auspicious time to activate this, to sow seeds of this, and to harvest this, and to be as intentional about it as anything we've ever done, which includes to get a little time for some quiet. Does it sound easy? To have just a few seconds of quiet, maybe even a minute. And maybe by next Sunday, maybe we're up to 2 minutes of quiet, of a big inhale and then a big exhale. And to practice this, to quiet in the midst of this frenetic life. And to notice your neck hurts. and that you don't know how to hold a certain conversation, and you don't know how you're going to do this. You don't know how this is going to turn out, and you don't know how. And it's like, it's okay. It's okay that I don't know how. I often say to people that had children, you didn't know how to have a baby either, but you had one. So we don't know how to do these things, and it doesn't have to stop us. So back to this silence inside of us, and for many of us, so afraid of the silence, so afraid of that quiet. But a long way down this road of life, where some of us are, when we can inhabit this inner plane fully and fullier, more fully, less and less are we going to feel awkward. Less and less are we going to feel lonely. Less and less are we going to feel rejected or misunderstood. Less and less are we going to be seeking anything from the external, and fulfilling from the internal. The only place it can be fulfilled, from that fulfillment, from that indwelling presence of life, of God, of creator, of universe, whatever you call it, from the fulfillment of that, from the fullness of that, then I am able to live more wholeheartedly, able to give more wholeheartedly, and able to do what is in the direction of my dreams for the mark that I want to leave on the world. So let's pause and just reflect on that just a minute. What can you do today more wholeheartedly? With your profession, your vocation, your neighborhood, who you may want to adopt, a project, your family, siblings, children, grandchildren, your adopted family, this ministry, Unity Village Chapel, and this mighty radiating beam of light this is to the world and for people for so many decades now and for decades to come. So I bow to you. I know who you are. I know how you serve. I know what you are. And I know whose you are. So infinite blessings as you go forth to dial up this luminosity